Story 1. During my first year living on a Caribbean island, there was a debate in the parliament between a local politician and a European politician, as the island still has colonial and financial ties. The local politician remarked, "You're not from here. I am from here. My wife is from here, my girlfriend is from here, and my side piece is from here. You are not from here." It wasn't the worst corruption or the biggest scandal, but it was certainly one of the funniest scandals I encountered during my time there. Story 2. Not a scandal per se, but in 2022, the United Kingdom government essentially imploded twice, and we had a prime minister who infamously lasted less than a supermarket lettuce. The lettuce has its own Wikipedia page. Story 3. Before he became a talk show host, Jerry Springer served as the mayor of Cincinnati. He was caught soliciting a prostitute after he paid her with a check. Story 4. A British member of parliament was caught watching inappropriate content in the House of Commons and claimed he was trying to find pictures of tractors. Story 5. Iceland's Minister of Finance was named in the Panama Papers and the Ashley Madison leak. The entire government dissolved, and a new election was scheduled. He created a campaign video in which he decorated his child's birthday cake. The country re-elected him as prime minister in the next election. This is just one of his scandals. He became prime minister again after stepping down as minister of finance because he sold a nationalized bank to his father at a family discount. Instead of leaving, as most people wanted, he simply traded positions and made himself Minister of Foreign Affairs. Story 6. South Carolina's Republican Governor Mark Sanford went missing for 6 days. His press secretary stated he was hiking the Appalachian Trail, but he had a girlfriend in Argentina. Story 7. How about that time the major telecommunications companies took over $400 billion to install fiber optics in homes, schools, and libraries across the entire country and just didn't? The money was just reinvested in the companies to expand overseas and pay legal fees fighting against competitors with fiber plans and blocking future expansion. Here is $400 billion. Please use it to give us all good internet. Okay. Hey, where's that high-speed internet you were going to install? Oh, we decided that was way too expensive. It would cost about $400 billion, and we just don't have the money. Have this digital subscriber line instead over the existing network. Story 8. The mayor of Badalona was stopped for speeding while under the influence and outside of his confinement area during the pandemic. He also bit a police officer. Story 9. A vice president of the United States accidentally shot his friend in the face while hunting birds. He then had the friend apologize on national television. Story 10. John Stonehouse, caught up in the creative accounting of firms he established after losing his ministerial roles and related pay, decided to fake his own death so he could run off with his mistress to Australia after embezzling a significant amount of money. His method of faking his death was so absurd, leaving his clothes on the beach and swimming out to sea to make it look like he had either drowned or been attacked by a shark, that it was not believed. Unfortunately, when he arrived in Australia, his behavior caught the attention of locals who reported him to the police because they presumed he was Lord Lucan. A more high-profile disappearance of a British peer who went missing after murdering his children's nanny while trying to kill his ex-wife and kidnap his children just 2 weeks beforehand. To prove he was not Lucan, he was forced by the Australian police to drop his pants and show them his genitalia. Yes, really. Story 11. The Bridgegate scandal in New Jersey in 2013 involved Governor Chris Christie's administration orchestrating lane closures on the George Washington Bridge as political retribution against the mayor of Fort Lee, who did not endorse Christie's re-election bid. Story 12. Abscam involved Federal Bureau of Investigation agents posing as Arab oil sheiks to offer bribes to United States congressmen. Several of them accepted the deal. 6 representatives and 1 senator, along with various other officials, were convicted. Story 13. Marion Barry was a former mayor of Washington, D.C. The scandal involved him being caught by federal agents smoking crack in a hotel room, which led to his sentencing of 6 months in prison. The remarkable aspect is that several years later, he was re-elected as mayor of Washington, D.C. Story 14. The Prime Minister of the United Kingdom was involved in a scandal concerning a pig's head. It was particularly astonishing, especially since a Black Mirror episode with a similar premise had been released shortly before. Story 15. Sarah Huckabee Sanders is paying $19,000 to her close friend for a lectern, while the most expensive lectern costs about $7,000. She and her friend then went on a vacation in Paris. The local Republican Party wrote to be reimbursed on the receipt. What I find most absurd is Huckabee Sanders attempting to make it illegal to prosecute a governor. The official report comes out tomorrow, which should be enlightening. Story 16. A utility company bribed the Speaker of the Ohio House with $60 million to pass legislation to provide $1 billion in subsidies for 2 old nuclear power plants. It is so audaciously corrupt that it seems fictional, right? Nope. Welcome to the very real scandal of House Bill 6. Story 17. Jeremy Thorpe's story involves a series of dramatic events, including mishaps with hitmen, unexpected incidents involving pets, and intricacies related to his personal life. Story 18. On the tragic end of the scale, there are the mass deaths at Jonestown and the perpetrator's ties to the San Francisco city government, followed days later by the assassinations of the mayor and Harvey Milk. Story 19. This is pretty tame by Chicago standards, but it is still surprising to me. In 2003, then Chicago Mayor Richard M. Daley ordered the overnight bulldozing of Meeks Field's runway without notice, ending operations and converting the airport into a park. The move shocked and disappointed aviation communities, and some viewed it as an example of mayoral overreach. The bulldozers gouged 6XS into the runway, rendering it unusable. Story 20. Dick Cheney realized that the country had elected a very useful individual and then spent President Bush's entire presidency finding ways to mislead the nation for his own profit. Story 21. The married leader of the Liberal Party in the United Kingdom in the 1970s had a homosexual affair with a male model. Homosexuality was still illegal in the United Kingdom at that time. When the male model wanted to end the relationship, the politician attempted to have him killed. This led to a trial at the Old Bailey on charges of conspiracy to murder. The politician was found not guilty because the judge effectively instructed the jury to acquit him, citing his status as a respected member of the upper class and his notable accomplishments, while downplaying the credibility of his accuser, the male model. Story 22. The pig war was a conflict triggered when a farmer shot another farmer's pig on disputed territory. This incident escalated to the brink of war between the United States and England, with troops being deployed from both sides. Story 23. Marjorie Taylor Greene's entire career is puzzling, especially considering how she presented a meme to Congress and was taken seriously. How did that conversation unfold? Tell me, Marjorie, what episode of Scooby-Doo is this from? It's not. Some random person photoshopped it. Well, that makes it even more credible. In an ideal world, instances like this would lead to laughter and possibly fines for presenting such material as evidence. While a meme might clarify a point, it shouldn't be used as the sole evidence. If she had facts or data to support her argument and then used the meme to emphasize her point, that would have been acceptable. Still, it would arguably be a silly waste of time, but ultimately acceptable. However, that was her primary evidence. Story 24. Pizzagate refers to a conspiracy theory suggesting the existence of a secret dungeon under a pizza shop, allegedly backed by a Democratic deep state. Story 25. Operation Bid Rig in New Jersey. In 2009, more than 60 people were arrested, including at least 12 elected officials. It started out fairly normally, with politicians taking bribes from developers for favorable contracts. Busts like this happen all the time, but this one was a little bigger and had a few higher-profile names. It was mostly a difference in scale, not type. What made this case different was how the bribes were financed. As the investigation progressed into money laundering, it was revealed that many of the bribes were funded through the harvesting and resale of black market kidneys. Story 26. When then Governor of South Carolina Mark Sanford disappeared for a week, his staff initially claimed he was hiking the Appalachian Trail, but he was actually in Argentina with his mistress. Story 27. The Affair of the Diamond Necklace. The most expensive diamond necklace in the world was designed for the king's mistress. A disgraced cardinal is involved, along with a con artist countess and a prostitute impersonator. The countess convinces the cardinal that he can win back the queen's favor if he buys the necklace for her. The prostitute impersonates the queen. The cardinal purchases the necklace and gives it to the countess, who promptly runs off with it and breaks it up to sell the pieces individually. Who takes the blame? The innocent queen, Marie Antoinette. Story 28. The president of South Korea was ousted because she was involved in a religious cult that was manipulating events behind the scenes. Story 29. Chinese foreign ministers have suddenly disappeared from public life due to an affair with a Chinese news anchor. There are reports that he has been killed. Story 30. Gary Hart, the Democratic frontrunner, was photographed on a yacht named Monkey Business. You can't make this up, folks. Story 31. Elliot Spitzer left his socks on while engaging with an expensive escort and structured his financial transactions to conceal it. It takes some nerve for the sheriff of Wall Street to do that. Story 32. Using a Sharpie on a storm map endangers people's lives because you cannot admit you made a mistake. Story 33. Donald Trump's statement caused a significant stir, leading news anchors and journalists to find ways to discuss it without using explicit language. Meanwhile, Billy Bush, the shocked interviewer, faced severe backlash while Donald Trump went on to become president. It's frustrating how people in this country respond to these situations. Story 34. Sharpagate, also known as the Hurricane Dorian Alabama controversy, occurred when then-President Trump mistakenly included Alabama in a list of states that would be impacted by the incoming Hurricane Dorian. Rather than admit his error, he later showed reporters a hurricane track that had been altered with a black Sharpie marker to include Alabama, as well as requesting the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration to retroactively report that Alabama had been included in the initial warnings. Story 35. A Supreme Court judge presiding over trials that involve his wife, after being discovered to rely on wealthy acquaintances. It is time to remove his corrupt influence. Story 36. Ted Kennedy and the Chappaquiddick incident still amazes me. He flipped his car into a pond and allowed his 28-year-old girlfriend to drown. Story 37. Mark Sanford, the governor of South Carolina, went missing for a week. His spokesperson stated he was hiking the Appalachian Trail. It was later revealed he was in Argentina with his mistress. Story 38. In Canada, a significant amount of COVID-19 relief funds was redirected to a network of extreme Christian men, allowing them to start businesses across Western Canada. It resembles a cult with strict rules. The government officials who misappropriated the funds were caught, but no action was taken. There is even a report on it. The religious group is called the Plymouth Brethren Christian Church. I noticed a few companies in my industry with faceless marketing and a questionable backlink network. They all disappeared when the story broke. I was driving through an area in Saskatchewan where I knew they operated, and they were long gone. Story 39. Who remembers the tan suit and the Dijon mustard that had right-wing media losing their minds? Story 40. The Great Balloon Crisis of 2023, or the Helium Boogaloo, refers to the wayward Chinese balloon incident that led the United States to shoot down several non-spy-related objects from the sky in addition to the balloon. Story 41. 10,000 pounds on biscuits in a year. A former UK Member of Parliament had to respond to a newspaper attacking him for spending 10,000 pounds on biscuits in a single year. Story 42. Everything there is about George Santos, if that is even his name. He would not be believable as a fictional character. Story 43. Republican Senate candidate Jack Ryan, married to Jerry Ryan, attempted to encourage her to engage in sexual activities at swingers parties. Jerry Ryan is also known as Seven of Nine from Star Trek. Story 44. Italy's P2 scandal from the 1980s involves a rogue Masonic lodge that infiltrated the Vatican Bank and the Italian government. It became a shadow state within a state and imploded publicly, with only a handful of people seriously punished and mysterious deaths of individuals who could link powerful figures to the crimes. One member later became prime minister. Story 45. Tiffany Henyard, the mayor of Dalton, Illinois, still has ongoing activities. Feels like they must be filming a reality show or sitcom. Story 46. New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell is spending $30,000 in taxpayer dollars to buy first-class plane tickets for personal vacations. When questioned about it, she stated, "Flying coach isn't safe for Black people." Story 47. The only absurdity for me is the lack of career-ending scandals. So much has been done that would have decimated the careers of many, yet there has been silence. In the last 10 years, the sanctity of everything has evaporated. Worse, the political disparity between both parties is effectively a comparison of two figures, with events and accountability at stake. The public, unfortunately, does not seem to care about the difference. Story 48. The UK has seen some juicy scandals. My favorite among them was John Major, who became Prime Minister after Margaret Thatcher had an affair with Edwina Currie. Then there's the constant stream of gay or highly closeted members of Parliament being forced out of the closet due to relationships with rent boys, like Peter Mandelson, or being involved in questionable activities such as Ron Davies badger watching, or having their personal details leaked like Chris Bryant, one of the few gay MPs who managed to navigate scandals and become a significant figure in British politics. In case you don't know what gaydar refers to, ask your father. I haven't even touched on modern Scottish political scandals, especially those that have surfaced over the past decade, including the death of Charles Kennedy, Ian Blackford, the ongoing Ferry saga, bullying claims against Douglas Ross, claims of sexism and bullying against Alex Cole-Hamilton, the Anna Sarwar controversy, and the Kezia Dugdale situation. One of the most absurd scandals was Derek Mackay sexting a 16-year-old. For context, the age of consent in Scotland is 16, and sexting may have seemed to Mackay like something he could get away with. As for my favorite serious British political scandal, it has to be the Profumo affair. I won't delve into too much detail, but it was quite remarkable, particularly for the 1960s. This scandal has had lasting repercussions in British society and culture for over 60 years. It changed the public's perceptions of MPs and how they should be viewed and respected. It was even made into a film, and Dusty Springfield, a figurehead of British popular culture, sang the theme tune "Nothing Has Been Proved," co-written with the Pet Shop Boys. Was it a surreal political scandal? Absolutely. The scale of the fallout, the stupidity of the men involved, and their arrogance in thinking they would never be caught are shockingly surreal. It's unfortunate that the two women at the center of the scandal, Christine Keeler and Mandy Rice Davies, were treated poorly by the British press and society. If such a scandal were to happen today, at least one of them might make a glamorous comeback akin to Kim Kardashian's. Story 49. In terms of impacting the most people, it's probably everything around the Trump documents case. We have him on tape admitting he has retained classified documents and did not declassify them as he and his representatives claim. The Federal Bureau of Investigation had to raid the home of the former president to retrieve the documents. His security team included his valet from his time in office and an individual who has turned state's evidence and revealed that they attempted to flood the Mar-a-Lago server room to erase video evidence. When it came time to move towards a trial, a judge appointed by Trump was assigned to the case and has done everything in her power to delay or even partially dismiss the charges for almost a year. We have clear evidence of him on tape showing files he confirmed were still classified to a documentary crew that would not have had clearance. We have all seen the pictures of boxes of documents piled in a bathroom and on the stage of a ballroom. This is absolutely insane. It's surprising that anyone believes there isn't a case here. Story 50. Toronto Mayor Rob Ford is by far my favorite. There are some great videos out there. However, the standards have changed to the point where using substances in a dubious motel with an escort is now referred to as Tuesday night. Story 51. A government minister who later became head of state imported arms for the domestic terrorist army. Story 52. Marion Barry was re-elected. Gary Hart dared the media to follow him around and expose him. Story 53. Spiro Agnew took cash bribes in the White House as vice president, which was subsequently covered up. He was allowed to resign, followed by the Watergate scandal involving Nixon. Regarding Trump, it may take years to uncover the extent of the corruption and damage he has caused. The consequences could be profoundly disturbing, and recovery may not be possible. Story 54. Watergate. It seems like an absolutely ridiculous event, but it really occurred. It's hard to believe that they acted that way and that the informant was named Deep Throat. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.